Okay, I will go ahead and start the stream now.
And then, yeah, just let me know when we're live.
Okay. All right, we're live.
Great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the 2020 Wikimedia Technical Talk series. Today, we'll have Mateus Santos, a software engineer at the Wikimedia Foundation. He'll be speaking today about Wikimedia Maps and its challenges. When Mateus is finished, we'll have a short Q&A period for folks to raise questions, either in the Wikimedia Office IRC channel or in the YouTube live stream. Thank you in advance for your patience. We're all working remotely right now with various internet speeds and equipment, and I'll be monitoring the chats as best I can for any questions that come up. If we aren't able to answer one of your questions during the live broadcast, we'll be sure to follow up later. So now I'll hand it over to Mateus to get started.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm going to start sharing my screen. So welcome to the Maps Tech Talk. My name is Mateus Santos. I work for the Product Infrastructure Team under the Product Department. And since I joined the foundation in June 2018, and since then I've been the main engineer working on the maps maintenance. So that's why I thought it'd be a good idea to explain how the stack works, how we have been dealing with the challenges for over this almost 2 years, and I hope you enjoy. So I would like to start with some history and context. Maps is it's an old project inside the foundation. The early stage of the project was between 2015 and 2016 with the discovery team. They were responsible for prototyping it and making it available in production. So it was a really huge amount of work at that time, and a lot of features were developed to make the maps as it is today. And at some point, we had a community wish list because of this great work did on maps. The community really enjoyed how it was being presented for on the Wikipedia, and they on the community wish list of 2017, maps were one of the top requests from the community. And because of that, and because the discovery team wasn't working on this anymore, the collaboration team was formed and worked on these maps enhancements for about 2 quarters. And after that, finally, the handoff happened the handoff of the maps happened to product infrastructure, and that's where we started the maintenance mode. So in the early stage, as I said, the release of the beta version was around March 8 on 2016, and we would have a stable flag really later on 2019. The service was working well, but we had a lot of maintenance and server issues that we should address, and I will talk more about this later. So as I said, that was the discovery team that works on to create maps and deliver it. And one thing about the community wishlist team, the community wishlist of 2017, it was that maps was chosen, but the scope of the wish was too big to be worked by the community, by the collaboration team. So if you go to the Maps Improvements 2010 page on Wikitech, you will see a really nice backlog of information, a lot of reports from different times regarding maps development on those 2 quarters. And the thing about this that I would like to highlight is the complexity of the stack, and that lead to a specific goal for this period of time, which was ensure that the stack was stable and could gain a wider audience. So this is really important to know, and I will explain more about the complexities that everything that touched maps encountered over these years. And that's just a fun fact about the community wish list. Because it was too big, only half of the tickets that were created was finished. And we have some tickets out there that are stale because of the platform state of art. We have some others that can be done but needs volunteer work, and that's something that we are trying to um, address as a community with maps. And now, after the handoff on 2018, we are the current stewards, the product infrastructure, and we have the help of operations, specifically Guillaume Ledehay, which helps us a lot on the ops side of maps. And in product infrastructure is Michael and I right now being the main maintainers. And okay, so what is Maps as a Wikipedia product, and how it is available for the community? Maps has two main products. If we can say this, one of them is the extension, the Kartographer extension, and I think this is the mainly used by the community, is where we can integrate maps with Wikipedia, the wiki pages on every Wikipedia project. But we also have the Kartotherian tile server, which is a product. If we have terms of use, it's open to third parties, um, and yeah, that's basically how we show maps to our community, our customers. And so Kartographer is an extension to show an interactive map on a Wikipedia page. And you can have an interactive map and also a static map, depending on the settings that we have on the project, on the Wikipedia project. But basically, it wants to deliver interactive content to the public. And Kartographer is based on Leaflet, which is the engine behind the Kartographer interactive map. We use a specific version, which is a Mapbox version of Leaflet. So it's kind of outdated, and we have some work right now. We have volunteer work trying to migrate this version, which is awesome. And but basically, Leaflet is open source and mobile friendly, and it's the top. I think is the top library that we could use right now to deliver interactive maps. And it's very easy to customize and write plugins for it. Kartographer is an example of that, because we have some built-in plugins to interact with Leaflet and a specific Wikipedia architecture. And so what we use as data? OSM data is, I think everyone or most of you should know OpenStreetMaps, which was considered the Wikipedia of maps. And it's basically, OSM is a map of the world, open, freely to share and under open license. And that's really aligned with our mission. And it's really good that we have this for our infrastructure. Right now, we use a set of plugins to load OSM data into our specific hardware. We use OSM to PGSQL to download to put data on a Postgres database, and we use Osmosis, which is both of them are are tools from the OSM community, but we use them to load data daily, hourly, or minutely, depending on the configuration. And so we can keep the data of the maps updated. And what uses this data? So we have Kartographer as an extension, but we also have the title server, as I mentioned. In the title server, the title server is called Kartotherian, and it works with another software that we call Tilerator. Kartotherian is basically, let me mention this. Kartotherian Tilerator use Mapnik as an engine because we do rendering, we do static image rendering, we do binary data rendering for tiles, and Mapnik is the engine behind these renders. So so Mapnik is used by Tilerator when we are generating pre-rendered tiles, and it's used also by Kartotherian when we are generating tiles on the fly. So Kartotherian. Kartotherian is a Node.js server, and it's vector based because we use Mapnik to generate binary data and compressed data, so we don't need to store images on our databases. And Kartotherian uses the data generated by Tilerator and deliver tiles for every client, every Wikipedia client using Kartographer or any other third-party user. Tilerator is what backs up Kartotherian vector tiles. I will explain more about how the whole stack interacts, but Tilerator is the piece of software that will get the OSM data and generate it in a tile way and distribute it regarding different parts of the map. So it's Tilerator because it comes from tile, and I'm not sure if you know, but the way that we serve maps, the way that we serve maps on a server is tiling the whole planet, and depending on the specific region that we request, you get an image. And Tilerator do pre-generation of all of this, so we can have lightweight and performant and a performant API, so we can attend the Wikipedia requirements for delivering content as fast as we can. And okay, so also with Kartotherian, we have another part of the service, which is Snapshot. Snapshot is a way to render images and serve static images. And the Snapshot is important because we can also render data from Commons or Wikidata and put on a map, on an image on the map, so it can be served to Node.js clients on Wikipedia. And that's the main reason for the Snapshot service to exist. Another thing about the Kartotherian service is that we collect external data from Wikidata and Commons, so the community can create with more flexibility free licensed content, and we can use this on our maps. So Geoshapes extract those data from Commons and Wikidata and make it available as a GeoJSON. So it is used internally by Kartotherian and the Snapshot service, but it's also a exposed API, so we can have this data as a GeoJSON at any time. So, okay, I think that will make easier to see where all those software fits on the stack. Basically, what we have is Tilerator as a pre-generation vector tiles engine. It loads data from Postgres. It uses Redis to consume a job queue and post jobs to generate different tiles of the planet. Um, we have Tilerator has also a UI where we can schedule jobs and do maintenance work, or even monitor what is happening with the tile generation jobs. So after Tilerator generate the vector tiles, it will store it in Cassandra and make it available as in a fastest way possible for Kartotherian, so it can serve tiles through Varnish and get to the client. Um, and also OSM is the data that we are storing and being consumed and used to generate all this information. Um, so this is another diagram that is cool to show you, because it kind of explain how one of our clusters work. And I mean, all clusters work like this. We have two clusters, CodeFW and EQIAD. And this is a diagram that shows more or less how the user interacts with our data. And so basically, the process, as I said to you, is Tilerator generating tiles, Kartotherian served them. We have 4 machines with each one with a Postgres master or slave, and a Cassandra or a master or slave instance, and they are both served through Varnish. Um, and I think that's basically how we deal with the technology and the hardware to to have maps in our infrastructure. So maps is awesome and complex, and I'm going to explain a little bit more details on that, because that's what you see before you start to working on it or maintaining it, and when you go deeper, you see the the needs of the project itself. So we entered in maintenance mode, and in Q1 2018, in fiscal year 18-19, and the state of maps that on that time was like this. So Kartotherian Tilerator has a tree dependency really large. It's a lot of components. Most of them are Mapbox components that are open source and you can use it. But Kartotherian Tilerator uses a lot of software to keep it running. And at that point, we didn't have Kartotherian or Tilerator in Garrett. So the Kartotherian was supposed to be a community for itself, but that didn't happen. And later on the maintenance work, we brought it to Garrett and start to do uh, our work on we figured out the source code as being on our infrastructure. And you can see a list here: Kartotherian, Kartographer, and Tilerator, which I mentioned, but there are 2 more components, because uh, every data needs a style needs a style on how to render it. And we have OSM Bright, which is a project with a fork from Mapbox style, and it's basically a Carto CSS Carto CSS project where we we have the rules on how to render the maps, how we are going to paint roads, how we're going to paint lakes, and stuff like that. BrightMed is supposed to be the new style that we're going to be deployed on 2018. But it didn't happen because it was we didn't when we started the maintenance, we didn't have much knowledge about the stack. We were afraid to deploy and not being able to keep it running, or because of the lack of knowledge that we had about the new style. So we keep it OSM Bright running, and this is the state of art today. Um, and the source of the way that we the style see the source is the set of rules that will get the vector tile and be presented to the style guide is those two projects, OSM Bright TM2 source, which is a set of different SQL scripts and SQL queries to get the data from the OSM database and turn into a vector style. And Meadow was supposed to be the source for the new style. It was a work for Paul Norman, and it was supposed to also help with different loading of OSM data. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but that's what we faced when we started doing maintenance. And when we were developing and when we are doing maintenance, I'm going to show you a couple of projects that I created and or created to do maintenance and help me to go through it. And Kartotools is the first one. It's a small collection of tools that at some point I need to investigate or read logs from Kartotherian to investigate if we had slow queries running on PostgreSQL. How I had to collect data to see how the dependency deprecation would happen and track this over time to see if you were keeping up with the platform evolution of the stack. So it's available on GitHub, on my personal GitHub right now. But there you can see different tools that some I created, and it really helped on the maintenance flow at least. And another one was Cartodoc, and that's a really interesting project because in my first week, in my first 2 weeks, I was supposed to work with maps, and it took me these 2 weeks plus onboarding to finish the first setup. And I created a Docker Compose setup to run all kind of scripts that we need to use with maps. And now I reduce it this time to anyone can create a setup to work with the maps with the map stack of the Wikimedia Foundation in 30 minutes or more, depending on the size of the database of the OSM data you are downloading. But basically, this Docker Compose setup has Cassandra, Redis, PostgreSQL with PostGIS, running Tilerator and Kartotherian. I also needed to have Mapbox Studio, so I could debug some work on style because we were using old Carto CSS, which is kind of deprecated on maps nowadays as a style framework for maps, and that's it basically. This project also supports OSM to PGSQL and IMPO OSM3, which is ways to load OSM data locally. And that really helped to share knowledge about the particularities of the stack or the development between our team. And I hope this can be also of help to the community or the volunteers. And finally, every maintenance mode has to deal with technical debt. And I'm going to show you some stats about how we dealt with technical debt and how we're continuing to work on this. So that's the technical debt stats that we had before the handoff, and at that point we had outdated dependencies. So as I say that, and when I was explaining Kartotools, I created a script where I could see every package that were being used by Kartotherian and Tilerator, and see on their source if we were using a outdated dependency of or an outdated version of that package. And the reality is that 52% of Kartotherian was outdated, 62 of Tilerator was outdated at that point. So we didn't deploy the new styles, and there was still some prototype code running on the platform. And and looking on the setup and how we had to work with maps, we saw that it wasn't a volunteer-friendly project, so it's kind of hard for the community to work technically on maps. We have some experienced developers which are volunteers and are submitting patches for maps, but it's not like it's not the same presence that we have for MediaWiki as a whole. And what happened? So what are the technical debt stats now? So we have a lot of pinned versions that we can't upgrade on Kartotherian Tilerator, and the outcome of this is the deprecation will increase over time. And we are setting a lot of plans on how to work around this, but that's the reality right now. The outdated dependencies are increasing. So the new style is not deployed yet and shouldn't. The technology involved is outdated now. If we're going to do a move with the styles or how we render tiles, I think we should go to a different technology, more edging cut, let's say, like Mapbox GL, which removes the need of Mapnik on the stack and make it more feasible to maintain over time. And so it's not a volunteer-friendly project. We try to mitigate this problem. So at the beginning, we had, as I said, like 36 repos under Kartotherian organization GitHub. We gather all of this and make it monorepo so we can have a better source control over Kartotherian Tilerator. We moved this now new monorepo to a Garrett to a Garrett instance on our infrastructure. And that was a really good thing that we did, because for the first time, maps started to have CI tests. Before that, we didn't have, because we're all in GitHub and we didn't have any CI setup for maps at that point. And now we have a clear, at least a clear CI setup and how to interact with it. We tried to document all process that we could. And the SRE team did a great job creating cookbooks for Postgres for when we were doing some maintenance on the server, on when we need to depool servers and refresh the database for some reason. And I hope that with the Docker Compose environment, the difficult to install and work with maps will be reduced. But our work also created more technical debt. It's not always good, because, as I said, we needed to pin some versions, specific versions, and because of those versions that we need to pin, we also had to fork some projects that weren't being maintained anymore, and we needed to fork them to create and develop and do some changes so we could, for example, move to Node 10, which was the case of Node Mapnik. And because of because of that, we now have we have a good setup with Debian, Stretch, and Node 10 for maps, but it's not going to be easier to move forward if you need to go to Node 10, Node 12, or for example, Debian Buster. So we are going to have more work on this in the future. Sorry, this is duplicated. And so the map's achievement so far on these almost 2 years of maintenance was that we did OS migration at the beginning of the work. It was really difficult. It took about 2 months to understand and finally deploy the finally deploy maps on a Debian stretch cluster for both cluster actually. And because of that, we learned a lot about the full planet tile regeneration. We have a uh, report that's really nice that has nice information about benchmarks on how long it will take to move to another to do this again in the future, and how long it will take to regenerate tiles for the whole planet, and all our learnings and of our failures on this. So I will have a link in the end for that too. We did the migration to Node 10, and at that point, it was the first service to go to Node 10, other than I think Methoid was the first, and then we moved Kartotherian Tilerator. It was a nice thing for us because it was really difficult. We had to uh, we needed a lot of workarounds on this to make it happen. So move with Kartotherian to Grid, start to have CI tests for the first time for maps, uh, and a lot of improvements on documentation, in operation sides and on development side as well. And the status of the projects is maintenance still. But can we do more than regular maintenance? I'm not sure, but we do have a lot of knowledge share about this. A lot of we don't have written plans on how to do that, but we have some new work that can be done on our roadmap in the future. We can do infrastructure modernization if you need to keep up with the newest version and a better maintainable infrastructure. We need to move to Kubernetes at some point, and we have a lot of re-architecture that we can do on critical modules to make maps more easy to maintain. And of course, more documentation. This is always welcome. So yeah, I would like to shout out to the volunteers that has been helping with maps this whole time. I learned a lot on the interactions that I had, and I hope that we can we can share more knowledge about this and can move forward maps, because we have the research that we have nowadays is strictly to maintenance, and I know that the community deserves more. But I think the volunteer work is really trying to fill the gap and even do new features or trying to um, evolve the platform with us. And yeah, I think that's it. Here are some sources that from what I showed on the presentation, and yeah, I would like to thank you. I think we now have open room for questions, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks, Mateus. That was a really awesome talk. We actually do have a couple of questions that came in on IRC. The first question is, do you have plans to move Mapbox-GL given its lack of support for a number of languages?
Well, as I said, we do have a lot of knowledge on how, and I did some prototypes with Mapbox GL, trying to move at least the snapshot service to it. But the investigation showed that it would be it wouldn't be an easy effort to do that. So we don't have a plan. I plan. What we want to do is write a plan. So maybe we can do this together with the community. But it is feasible. We have room for that because Kartotherian is really modularized in its architecture. So we can pull some modules out and put and get some other modules in, if possible.
Awesome. The next question is, has there been any thought around moving the compute heavy parts of maps, Tilerator and I'm going to say this wrong, sorry, Kartotherian, but not Postgres, Cassandra to Kubernetes?
Well, this work really just started on the SRE side. So the first challenge that we have is how we're going to make Kartotherian and Tilerator working with the CI pipeline and the future CD pipeline. So we didn't know, we don't know yet how we are going to make it work for now, because Kartotherian is different from other service. It's a monorepo. It wasn't developed in-house, not in-house, but it was developed on GitHub, supposed to have its own community. So it has different patterns that we are now integrating. We're trying to re-architecting. So I don't. We still need to make sure that we can deploy Kartotherian Tilerator on Kubernetes, and after that, I'm not sure how this is going to be solved. But we do need a separate instance for Cassandra and Postgres, and well, that's a really challenge that I think the operations team will have. Let's see.
Okay. If you have other questions, please feel free to put them in IRC. I'm checking the live stream on YouTube as well, and it looks like we don't have any questions there. Maybe we'll give it like just a minute to see if anything comes up there.
Sure.
Just a lot of thank yous from IRC and also from the YouTube stream. So I think that's the last of the questions. I'd like to let everyone know that if you do have questions after you've seen this talk, you can feel free to reach out and we will pass those questions on and make sure that they get answered for you. And then I'd just like to say thank you, Mateus, for meeting with us today. It's really awesome that you're willing to do this talk. It was really great. Thank you to Brendan Campbell-Craven, who does the AV for all of these. And also just a reminder that we do these talks monthly. They're open to members of the technical community, and you don't have to be a Wikimedia staff. You can be a volunteer. We're always looking for people to share what they know about technology. So if you're interested, feel free. Oh, I have one more question. Do you want to answer it? It's called,
sure.
Can we bring back Maps Beta?
By Maps data, do you mean our data on Wikipedia, like in Commons or Wikidata, or?
Here, let me ask. It's on the live stream, so it's a little bit behind.
I think it was beta.
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 Yeah, sorry. Did I not say that clearly?
Oh, beta, sorry. All right. Well, I don't know. I think maintaining the map stack was really challenging, to not say it's really difficult, but really challenging. And I hope that we can make it more stable than it is. There are a lot of, I think I see the community needs a lot of new features to also fill the gap that Maps has created on interactive content. And yeah, I'm not sure if how we're going to do this, making it more stable, but that's the goal. I hope that answers. Oh God.
I think that's it for for the questions that are coming through. We'll wait one more minute. I think that is the last of them. Okay, awesome. So thank you for answering that straggler question. And again, if anything else comes through, I'm more than happy to pass it along to you. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. And to everyone, feel free to reach me on the internet if you have more questions.